and welcome to your Monster Mass diet. So in this video, Dan and I are going to show you the diet that you need to be eating in order to gain massive amount of muscle with Monster Mass.
For sure. Mike, can you take a sec and just tell the guys why your diet is going to be so important for gaining muscle?
Well, the reason why it's so important is because diet is pretty much far the most important component when it comes to gaining weight. Because most skinny guys don't gain weight because they're not eating enough. And so in this video, we're going to be telling you about exactly what you need to be eating in order to gain the weight, how to eat it right, and also to go over all the components of why you need to be eating the proteins, the carbs, and the fat. There's a lot of misconception about what to eat, and I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges on why skinny guys aren't eating the right things, because they're following usually advice that's made for fat loss. And, so the more these guys are trying to eat, the food that they learn and from the advice, the more they're losing weight. And so no matter how much they work out and no matter how hard they train, doesn't matter what type of workout program they do, you're still not going to get in the weight if you don't eat the right foods.
For sure. And I know it's so intuitive, it just kind of seems like you should concentrate more on your workouts. And the workouts are important too. But if you don't have this locked down, it really doesn't matter how hard you're working out, you're not going to gain muscle.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Mike, so one thing you tell me a lot is that there's really one mistake when it comes to your muscle building diet, which most people are making that's bigger than every other mistake. Can you talk about that? Like, what's the big mistake?
So the biggest mistake is really simple, and it's just not eating enough food. And, a lot of skinny guys will say, man, I swear I'm eating the most that I can eat, and it seems like it's almost impossible to eat more, but that's actually what you have to do. You actually still have to eat more food than what you currently do, and it may seem like, crazy amounts of food, almost like abnormal, but that's what it takes in order to have the extra calories for you to gain the weight. No matter how hard you work out, again, you're not going to gain the weight unless you have those calories.
And I remember before I met you, I was trying to put on size, but I just kept eating the same thing, and I worked out really hard, but you really won't gain any size. You might actually lose more if you work out harder.
Yeah, because you're eating like the foods that help you stay lean.
Yeah.
So you just kept eating more lean foods, and so it didn't matter. You just got more leaner and more leaner. So.
And I know one thing too, like I had that same thing too, you told me how much to eat and I was like, I can never eat that much. Yeah. But one thing I didn't realize is you really have to train your eating just like you train your workouts. Yeah. Start eating a little bit more now and progressively step it up a little bit, and eventually you will be at the Mike Chang level. One of the other things that a lot of guys say is, like we said before, they just say, there's no way I could possibly eat, a lot of food every 2 hours. There's no way the first time you go to the gym you can bench press 300 pounds out of it, but you progressively build it up a little bit over time. So really the key with this is that probably the reason why you're skinny right now is you have bad eating habits. You just don't eat enough. So every week you got to put on a little bit more and never eat the same amount as you did last week, basically. Keep stepping up until you're all the way at the diet we recommend.
And, an easy way to go ahead and step it up right away without changing a lot of your eating habits is you can just grab mass gaining shakes. I mean, you can go ahead and literally just grab a shake, mix it up, and chug the whole thing and get an extra 1,000 calories within minutes just by doing that. So, there is a lot of different tactics, a lot of different ways to go ahead and get those extra calories in, but you just got to remember the bottom line is no matter what you do, you got to make sure you get those calories in order to gain that weight and gain that muscle.
Alright, so the last kind of objection to eating healthy that a lot of people have is that they say they want to stick to healthy foods, so they don't want to eat too many high-calorie foods. But what you have to realize is that low-calorie foods are healthy for most people, but that's because most people are overweight. The reason why these foods are healthy for most people is just because, it's going to make them lose fat, which for the average person is really the healthiest thing that you could do. But you're different. It's really not going to be improving your health to eat these low-calorie foods because you're already lean enough. So really for you, healthy means high-calorie foods. That doesn't mean like candy and Doritos, but there are high-calorie foods with good nutritional properties that are going to be very good for you.
Yeah, you got to remember, you don't have the same type of health problems as somebody who's overweight. You don't have high cholesterol. You don't have too high of a body fat. You don't got to worry about any of that stuff. So that's why when it comes to healthy for you, anything that's high calorie. Because for fat people, they got to do what? You got to drop weight. Their doctors, on 24/7 going, eat healthy, exercise. But for you, you got to do the total opposite. You got to eat those high-calorie foods. You can go ahead and sacrifice by having a little extra fat in your blood and having all those extra sugars in your blood. Why? Because you got so much more to spare. And that's what the difference is between most people's diet and also most people's workouts versus yours. You got to remember that everything when it comes to what you're doing should be opposite of majority of the people. That is the only way that you can really accomplish your goals and really gain that mass super fast.
For sure. Okay, so that's the biggest mistake, just not eating enough. Probably the reason why you're not gaining size as fast as you want. But what's some other mistakes that guys make when they're trying to bulk up?
Well, a very common mistake that guys are making when they're trying to bulk up, that personally I even made before, is eating junk food when they're trying to bulk up and end up gaining fat instead. And it's pretty common because until then, you've been hearing us talk about eating high calories, high fat, high calories, high fat. So automatically, guys are thinking, well, you know, Burger King and McDonald's have high calories and high fat food.
Not talking about that.
and, you know, I'll be totally honest with you, you know, even myself and, you know, buddies of mine before, we made the same mistake. And really, it's not really common, and this is really not something you really have to watch out for too much. It happens a lot of time with guys that are really, really into like the bodybuilding industry, and you know they're always working out, trying to get huge, and those are the guys that you see that's always in their off-season look. They always have a big belly, a big chest, big arms, and you know they're always big, but you never see them cut down, and that's the reason why, because they just constantly eat too much junk food, and they keep telling themselves, you know, I'm going to gain a little bit more muscle, a little bit more muscle, and at the end, they just never lay down because they end up gaining so much fat. And that's a pretty common mistake, but not something you have to worry about too much. I would say the best way to go ahead and overcome that is you just want to think about it this way. You're going to gain a little bit of fat, you know, when you bulk up. It's just natural, no big deal. But you want to make sure when you're eating foods, you want to make sure that the foods are actually healthy for you. Because when we mean high calorie and high fat foods, it doesn't mean like junk foods, like, you know, Doritos and Cheetos and ice cream, you know. You can eat a little bit of that, it's okay, but the majority of foods are actually still healthy high calorie foods and healthy, you know, high fat foods. Because those are the foods that are actually going to give you more muscle mass with minimal fat.
For sure. And just to be clear, like Mike isn't talking about like cheating once in a while, which even if you're on the regular diet, that's okay. And maybe even a little bit more so if you're trying to gain mass. What he's really talking about is habitually, regularly eating crap every day, basically.
Yeah.
Which a lot of guys, well, not a lot, but some guys do when they, you know, thinking they're going to get bigger.
Yeah, and here's a true story, really quick. So what I used to do as post-workout meals is I used to go and run to Jack in the Box, Burger King, and McDonald's. And not all three at the same time. I usually just pick one, and I go ahead and get a few burgers and some fries, and I'm thinking, okay, I just had a good workout, let me go ahead and put down 2,000 calories. And yes, you can easily put down 2,000 calories when you do that, but at the end, you know, the mistake I was making is I was getting bigger, but the moment that I leaned down, I ended up being the same size. And I realized it's because all the weight that I was gaining when I was bulking up was actually just fat. I didn't get stronger, and my muscles didn't get bigger. So again, make sure that you're following the mass-gaining diet of healthy high-fat foods and healthy high-calorie foods and not eating, you know, junk food in replacement. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about how to get those calories in. So the first thing you want to do is you want to be able to cook all of your meals in advance every single week. And there's absolutely no exception to this rule. And you got to remember, it's hard enough to try to go ahead and eat all the time and try to consume all these calories. So if you don't have your food cooked in advance, every time that you need to go and eat some food, you're going to have to go ahead and scramble around and look to see what food are available. And chances are there's not going to be much food available for you to eat. And if there is, it's probably going to be Doritos, cookies, you know, random little snacks and stuff that, you know, is just going to get you fat and isn't going to help you gain any muscle.
And I would say probably like 80% of the time that Mike and I get emails from clients who are trying to gain mass with Monster Mass but they're unable to do it. It's from guys that say like, oh yeah, you know, I'm trying to follow your nutritional rules, but I don't want to cook all my meals in advance. I just try to eat a little bit more here and there, and that's never going to work. This is mandatory. You're never going to eat every 2 hours unless it's already prepared for you.
Yeah, definitely. So Dan and I, we realized this issue, and that's why we created the Zero Willpower Eating System to basically go ahead and help guys either gain weight or at the same time lose weight. So let me go ahead and tell you what the Zero Willpower System is all about. So it's all about having your meals prepped in advance, so this way it takes the willpower out of eating right. So when it comes to gaining weight, basically, we're going to call it mass gaining zero willpower eating system because that's what it's doing. It's going to go ahead and gain weight without having to spend a lot of willpower. Because imagine that if you had to go ahead and drive somewhere to go and grab some food every single time, or you had to go ahead and, grab, mass gaining foods and somehow create foods when you don't have any available, it's going to be too tough, especially when you have to eat constantly throughout the day. So the eating system was created to help guys gain weight fast, and to take all the willpower and all the thinking and all the complexity, out of eating, and just to really make it super simple. I mean, how long does it usually take to cook a week's of food? 2 hours, maybe 2.5, 3 hours at the very most. So that's what mass gaining zero willpower eating system is all about.
For sure. And I would say, this is probably the most important concept. A lot of guys think there's some, nutritional compound or some obscure thing that they have to learn.
Nah.
But really the thing you got to learn is how to actually follow the diet that you wanted to follow, and this is how you follow it. So Mike, how can guys get started preparing these meals? What are the ingredients to each meal?
So each meal is broken down into protein, your fat, well basically your protein, your carbs, and your vegetables, and the fourth component that's not in the regular zero willpower eating system but in the mass gaining is your oils. And we're going to dive into each of these components in just a sec here. So the first part of the mass gaining zero willpower eating system is we're going to talk about portion size. And portion size is super important because that's going to determine how much calories you're going to get into your body. So let me go ahead and grab a zero willpower meal and show you how. So I have samples of 2 right here, and I'm going to go ahead and open them up so this way you can get a good look here. So if you can see, this is our steak, veggies, and rice. One of my favorites. And this right here would be our tilapia. We have sweet potato underneath and some vegetables. And if you look at the portion size, basically it's about a fist and a half, give or take. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't go and measure my fist and then afterwards measure every single meal because that's too complex and that takes too much time. So you want to make it a lot more simpler than that. But if you go ahead and just kind of look at it, you can tell that it's not too much food to handle, but yet it's still going to be somewhere close to about a fist and a half to, at the maximum, about 2 fists. So that should be where your portion size should be at. And you want to make sure you keep it about the same size every single meal. So this way you're able to stay consistent when it comes to eating them. Because if you have one big meal, one small meal, you're going to have a hard time, finishing these meals on a consistent basis. And it's going to kind of get you off the habit of eating all the time. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually go over exactly what type of proteins, what type of carbs, and what type of vegetables you need to have in the meals. And that's what gets to the real fun part because this is where a lot of guys start to make mistakes because they start grabbing usually a lot of healthy foods, to try to gain weight, and no matter how much healthy food you eat, it's too low in calories, you're not going to put it on the side.
Okay. So let's talk about the proteins. What should guys be doing with their proteins in their mass gaining meals? Should they, do they need to eat crazy amounts of protein, or what should they be doing differently, basically?
So, the biggest common mistake I hear is guys, when they talk about gaining size, they go, okay, I'm going to eat a whole bunch of protein, I'm going to go and do protein this and protein that. But a lot of guys don't realize that it's the carbs that, helps you put on the size and help you put on the weight. We're going to dive into carbs in just a sec. So let's go over protein first. So we got a lot of different protein sources here. The protein source that you got to remember is you want to go ahead and get the most amount of calories you can, right? You got to have a surplus of calories in order to have extra calories left over every single night to add onto your muscle, to add onto your weight. So if you look at the type of proteins we have here, now we have beef, steak, ding, number 1, definitely. Steak, beef, they're all really good. Whole egg is great. And we have chicken, and pork. So one thing to remember is high calories is definitely a plus when it comes to protein. So beef has definitely high calories, has a lot of good fat, has good calories, so it's definitely going to be a plus and one of the staples for gaining weight. Ground beef is another one that's really good, again, because it's beef, it's high in fat. Don't worry about getting the super lean beef. Worry about getting the amount of beef that has the most amount of fat content because that's going to give you the most amount of calories. Whole eggs are also really good for protein sources. Don't go for the egg whites. You need that extra calories again. So same thing with chickens. We have chicken thighs, we have drumsticks, we have wings. Again, those are dark meats. Usually when you talk to a doctor or you talk to a normal person that's trying to lose weight, they're all going to tell you to stay away from dark meat because it's, so high fat for you. But when it comes to protein for you, this is actually one of the best ways to go ahead and gain weight. Now, on the side note, we do have chicken breast, which is a lean source. We have pork chops, kind of in the middle. So these are also going to be really good protein sources. You just have to keep this in mind. When you're gaining weight, you got to have extra calories. So if you do like chicken breast or you prefer to go with a leaner protein source, it's okay to go and start off with. But if you're not gaining weight fast enough, you want to start looking into these other high-calorie sources to go ahead and make sure you pack on that weight. Another good source that people don't think about is milk. And if you notice, this is whole milk. And whole milk is great. And you want to, if you do like milk and you're not lactose intolerant, I am, so. But if you're not lactose intolerant, milk is a great tool for protein, also for the extra calories, because each one serving, which is 1 cup, has 150 calories. That means you can drink 2 cups, like 30 seconds, 300 calories right there. So when you're thirsty, instead of drinking water, drink milk. You get 300 calories extra, you get 16 grams of fat, you get 16 grams of protein, and you get 22 grams of carbs, just off of 2 cups, which is not too bad at all. So those are really good protein sources. And also a lot of times you'll get some good fat sources at the same time.
So one thing a lot of guys are probably wondering about is why is it better to be eating protein with more fat when you're bulking?
Well, because the main thing is you got to make sure you get that surplus of calories. And when you're eating protein sources that are too lean, you just don't have enough calories. And remember, between your high metabolism and you're burning everything off that you eat anyways right now, plus the high workouts that they're going to be doing, you got to make sure you overload on the calories, so this way you have enough calories at the end of the day to build on. Because if not, if at the end of the day you end up with 0 calories left, you're not going to have any extra calories to put on any weight, to put on any muscle. Think about it like this. You eat 2,000 calories every day, and you burn off 2,000 calories every day, you're left with 0. So you're never going to gain any weight. You have to be doing something like eating 3,000 calories every day, for example, and if you burn 2,000, you got that extra 1,000 calories left to gain that mass. And if you do that on a daily basis, your weight is just going to slowly skyrocket up, and you're never going to, you're never going to have to worry about not gaining any weight.
So what if I didn't want to gain any fat and I said okay, I'm just going to put 3 chicken breasts in every single meal and triple my protein. Would I get triple the muscle growth, or does that not work?
No, so you can't do that. That's actually a good question. And number one, you're going to find it pretty hard to eat 3 chicken breasts, with that much protein. But another thing is you got to make sure you space it out, because your body can only break down so much food at one time. And the thing is, it's going to be a challenge already, eating all the time. So you want to make sure that your portion sizes, again, 1.5 fists to max 2 fists in size. And the more important thing to worry about is not really the protein. Get your protein in, but the most important thing to worry about is the next component, which is carbs.
For sure.
Because most guys make the mistake of eating a lot of protein and forgetting about the carbs, but really, you need to make sure you overload on a carb. That is the magic formula.
For sure.
So let's go and dive into that now. So carbohydrates. We got a whole bunch right here. So the biggest mistake I hear guys making is, all right, so I've been eating brown rice like crazy, and I can't seem to gain any weight. What is wrong? So brown rice is perfect for losing weight, and it's perfect for people who are unhealthy because they're overweight and just trying to lose weight and stuff. For guys that are trying to gain weight, you got to eat white rice. But better yet, like what Dan said earlier, potatoes. Potatoes is by far the best carb source for putting on size, hands down. So, and the thing about potatoes is so damn cheap.
Yeah,
I mean, you know how much
tastes awesome.
Yeah, mashed potatoes. I mean, who don't like mashed potatoes? I mean, this big bag. This is like a 10-pound bag of potatoes here, and I swear to God, this was $2, maybe $3 for a 10-pound bag. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but if you cook this 10-pound bag, that's going to last you at least a good 4 days, and I mean, that's you just putting potatoes down like there's no tomorrow. So not only are potatoes the best carb source to help you put on size, the cheapest, I mean, I got to say it's probably even cheaper than rice. So, but again, so carbs, potatoes, by far one of the best sources to put on sides. White rice, again, also really good for putting on sides, and pasta. If I had to pick 3 carbs, these 3 would be it to put on the most amount of sides. The reason why is because they're fast absorbing, which basically means they break down really quickly in your body and they get absorbed really quickly. So you want to have a combination of both fast absorbing and slow absorbing. So without getting too complicated and stuff, just think about it this way. Majority of your carbs should be potatoes, rice, or pasta. And outside of that, you can also throw in a little bit of brown rice if you like. You can throw in other things like bread, which usually people try to stay away from, but for you, you can eat plenty of that. You can go ahead and also eat like sweet potatoes, which is good. You can eat oatmeal, which is good. You can eat tortillas. So there's a lot of different options for you when it comes to carbs. And the major thing that you have to remember on that is make sure that you get a lot of carbs in every single meal. When we're talking about the portion size of your meals, it should start off with a 30-30-30, or 33-33 and 33. 33% of your meal should be vegetables, 33% of your meal should be protein or meat, and the other 33% should be carbs. Now, if you feel like your weight gain is not fast enough and you want to go ahead and gain some more mass faster, you want to limit your vegetables down a little bit and increase your carbs. So this way you can go ahead and pack on more sides faster.
I would say, as far as carbs, one of the most powerful concepts you showed me, I think, is how you kind of adjust your weight gaining with your carbs. Can you talk about that, like how there's some like mashed potatoes, maybe at one extreme, brown rice at the other, and how you can like calibrate your weight gaining?
So basically, if you find yourself gaining like too much fat, you can always cut out your potatoes or your pastas or your white rice and replace it with more of a leaner source of carbohydrates like brown rice. You can go with sweet potatoes, you can go with something like oatmeal, and you're still going to be able to gain weight, but you'll gain weight at just a slower pace. And this is a really good way to kind of regulate like the amount of fat you gain. But if you don't see that you're gaining too much fat and that majority of weight you're still pretty happy with, I would say to continue with the white rice, continue with the regular potatoes, and continue with the pasta.
You know, and one way that I did this is basically I started eating mashed potatoes, ate them for as long as I possibly could until I actually started getting a little bit of fat. Then I stepped it down a little bit to baked potatoes, and then I stepped it down to white rice, and that's just what I do permanently right now. So you can really, you don't have to worry about being fat, because you can really, just by adjusting that one thing, you have a lot of control over how much weight you're going to gain.
Yeah, and so another thing is, when it comes to protein, you notice how Dan's adjusting the carbs, but he didn't really change up too much of the protein, and that's really a good trick for you. You can go ahead and adjust, just by adjusting the carbs and nothing else, you can go ahead and regulate how much weight you're gaining and how much fat you're gaining. So again, if you go ahead and cut down the potatoes, white rice, and pastas, it would actually cut down the amount of fat you gain. And again, so same thing with protein. If you wanted to go ahead and take it one step further and lean down a little bit more, you can also cut out the fattier protein for leaner protein. You just got to keep this in mind. Until you reach that threshold to where you feel like, okay, I'm gaining lots of weight, but some of the weight is, well, too much of the weight is fat, and I have to go ahead and scale it back a little bit, that's the only time that you decide to go ahead and swap this out. But I would recommend, just like what Dan did in the beginning, I would recommend going with the fastest gaining tools right from the start. Proteins, go with the highest fat, highest calories on your proteins. Carbohydrates, go with your potatoes, go with your white rice, and go with your pasta. Start off that way, so this way you get the rapid weight gain, and then over the weeks and over the months, start looking in the mirror, start weighing yourself, and then start determining if you need to go ahead and scale back. And if you do, you know how to do it. If you don't, perfect. Keep striving on, and you're going to reach your gains a lot faster.
Okay, so now let's talk about the zero willpower meal ingredient everyone loves most, vegetables. So I'll be honest with you guys, vegetables probably are not going to help you directly to gain mass that much, but we still recommend that you put them in every zero willpower meal and every mass gaining meal too, and especially when you're trying to gain mass. And the reason for that is that most vegetables, they're not going to have that many calories, so it's not going to, directly put on muscle. But if you're eating a ton of protein and a ton of food in general, you kind of need some fiber in your diet, or else you may get very horrible gas and constipation and other health problems as well. So, we still recommend that you put vegetables in there, and, definitely don't skip those unless you have to take it to extreme levels to add more carbs or something like that. So as far as good vegetables, basically any vegetable is going to be good. It's really going to depend on your taste, like which vegetable you like. We have a few examples here. Broccoli we like a lot because you can just chop it up, put it in those containers, and you can just microwave it, and as you heat it up, it'll actually cook the broccoli, so you don't even have to cook it.
And broccoli has some protein too.
Yeah, there you go. Carrots. Carrots we usually don't put in the zero willpower meals or the mass gaining meals because they don't cook very well in the microwave. But these are one of the best like snacks that you can have just to munch on, like real crunchy if you're craving, you know, chips or something like that. You can just munch on some carrots for some extra fiber. And one thing which is really good actually, if you're trying to gain mass, is avocado. Adding a little bit of avocado to your meal. Just slice it up, like a few slices of that is actually going to have like a couple hundred calories. So if you just put half of that on every meal, that's a lot of extra calories that you can do, and it's going to be improving your health as well. So yeah, basically with these veggies, it's going to be any veggie is good, just to taste. Just make sure not to skip it.
Yeah, definitely. And besides the fiber, it also helps you digest your protein. So imagine eating 40 grams of protein, but if you don't have vegetables in there to help you digest, your body may not absorb everything. And that's where Dan says, you know, you get the gas, you get the bloatedness, and so, you know, what's the point if you eat all the food if your body only digests part of it? So that's what the vegetables are going to help you do. And, you know, again, that's actually something that I didn't realize before also. So on top of eating all the junk food and not getting any vegetables, once I started eating these foods, I still didn't leave the vegetables in until later once I found out. And I'll be honest with you guys, once you do eat the vegetables in, it does regulate everything a lot better. So definitely do the vegetables, and you know, you can find ways to make it taste better, and that goes into the next part we're going to talk about, which is adding in different types of oils into your Tupperwares, into your meals. So this is actually something that we don't do in zero willpower meals, but we do in mass gaining zero willpower meals for a number of reasons. Number one is fats are really good to help with preventing muscle breakdowns, but also increasing testosterone levels in your body. So a lot of times when people are trying to diet and they're coming into problems like that, their testosterone levels are too low, and that's because they're going with too low of a fat on diet. Now, you don't have to really worry about that because a lot of your proteins are going to have a lot higher fat content, but having extra fat in there isn't going to hurt you, plus it's going to be a good benefit for you because coconut oil or olive oils or sesame oils or any of these oils that you add into the Tupperwares also give you extra calories. So imagine your Tupperwares alone being 400 calories, give or take, just for example. Well, you can add in a teaspoon of oil and automatically bump your Tupperware calories up by 100 grams, you know, maybe 150 grams of calories just by adding the oil, and it's not going to increase the volume of food. So you're not eating 100 grams more of food, it's just by putting that oil over. And another thing good about that is it tastes so much better. You know what I mean? So like, why does junk food taste so good? Because it's oily, you know, because it's crunchy and all this stuff. Well, adding in oils also makes your zero willpower meals taste better. Your mass gain zero willpower meals taste better because it makes everything really oily. So it's best of both worlds. It helps you gain weight, plus it tastes good. Now, there's a couple different oils that I recommend. Olive oil is really good. Sesame oil is good also. It has a really good aroma taste depending on the style of the food you like. One that I really, hands down, is my personal favorite is coconut oil. Now, there's a lot of different brands. You know, this is not really any special brand, but this is just one that I personally use, and this is really for my home. And if you can see, you know, a good amount of it is gone already. Got a big old spoon in there and stuff. But, you know, coconut oil is probably one of the ones that doesn't really change up the taste of the Tupperwares like too much, but it gives it a really good oily taste. And I'll be honest with you, I love foods that are oily. I mean, that's why people love junk food so much. But it does give you the extra calories that you need, and, you know, it's going to support the muscle growth and help you with testosterone. So make sure to go ahead and add at least one minimum scoopful, like one spoonful of oil into each Tupperware. And then microwave it up, and bam, you got your meal.
Yep. And one thing I've heard a lot from people about the coconut oil is they get like shocked that we put it on every single meal because it has a lot of saturated fat.
Yeah.
But what you should know is the saturated fat in coconut oil is something called medium chain fatty acids. So basically, it's a little bit easier for your body to digest and a lot of saturated fat. So yeah, it's going to be used for your body as energy, and it's not going to affect your cholesterol and your health like a lot of saturated fats will.
Yeah, and actually, on top of eating it for mass gaining, a lot of times, even when I'm trying to diet down, because, you know, if you start to gain too much fat and you want to start tailoring down a little bit, you can actually still put coconut oil into your Tupperwares, and it's not going to go ahead and change up too much of the amount of fat that you gain. Because, again, because of the components of the oil, it's actually a really good oil for you.
Okay, so you guys know what to eat, you know how to portion out your food. So what equipment will guys need if they want to start cooking these meals, Mike?
So the equipment is actually really, really easy and simple. So I went through a whole bunch of different types of stuff, from different types of pots and pans, and special little, you know, gimmicks. And the stuff that I found that works the easiest is, number one, grab yourself a Foreman grill. Foreman grill, you can pick it up for about 30, 40 bucks. You know, some of the big box stores like Walmart and stuff like that. Always get the biggest one because you're going to be cooking a massive amount of meat on there. So Foreman grill to cook your meat. I would say to get a really big pot, and that is going to be to cook your potatoes or to cook your pasta. And if you want to eat white rice, you want to go ahead and get like a small rice cooker. And again, you can grab one of those for about 20 bucks. Do not get anything fancy. So besides that, the only other thing you would need would be Tupperwares. So you can buy that again at the big box stores, Tupperwares, and you want to start off by getting about 20 Tupperwares to about 30 Tupperwares. So this way you have enough for every meal of the week. And last thing would be silverware. I'd actually recommend plastic silverware. Now everybody has, you know, regular silverware, but the reason why for plastic is so this way you can use it and then throw it away. Because last thing you want to do is have a whole mountain of dishes to, you know, go ahead and wash at the end of every night or, you know, throughout the day. It just becomes more work than necessary.
And one thing too, you might notice that we have these in disposable Tupperwares.
Yeah.
So these are a little bit more challenging to get. I don't think they have them in grocery stores, but can you talk about how guys who get disposable Tupperwares if they want to do a little less work?
Yeah, so there's actually a lot of websites online that you can go ahead and find disposable Tupperwares to where you use it once and then you just throw it away. And, you know, you're probably thinking, well, how much is it? You know, because I can't afford to go ahead and just use a Tupperware and throw it away. Well, these guys are actually pretty relatively cheap. And you can find them anywhere from about 35 cents up to about 50 cents per Tupperware. So when you really do the math, and I've done the math a little while ago before already, it adds up anywhere from about $45 up to about $60 a month for you to have these Tupperwares. And that means you can actually use the Tupperware once and throw it away. So you never have to worry about washing a single dish. So imagine you go and put one of these bad boys in the microwave, you microwave it up, you eat it with a plastic fork, and then when you're done, you throw everything away. You don't have any dishes to worry about at all. So the only time you actually ever have to worry about messing around with eating or messing around with cooking is really that one day out of the week when you're cooking your mass gaining zero willpower meal. Every day other than that one day, you don't have to worry about dishes, you don't have to worry about anything else, and it makes life a lot more simpler.
For sure. And you can definitely get started with the regular ones, but eventually, especially when you're bulking, the dishes can get a little absurd pretty quick. So eventually, yeah, I do recommend that you do what Mike does and get the disposable.
Yeah, definitely. So the next thing we're going to talk about is how to go ahead and prep these meals. And prepping the meals are actually really, really simple. So if you don't know, I'm not a chef. Dan's not a chef either. We're just regular guys that, you know, that make these meals. But here's the easy way to do it. So without getting into too much detail, basically when it comes to the meat, you cook all your meats on a Foreman grill. And the reason why is because you're cooking on both sides. Because a Foreman grill has two cooking surfaces, which is faster than cooking it over on a pan, a frying pan, or even in the oven. And so when you do that, it'll cook a lot faster. And it usually takes anywhere from 2 minutes up to about 5 minutes, no matter really what type of meat you're cooking at all. So you can fill the whole big cooking, your whole Foreman grill surface up with food and with meat, close it, within 2 to 5 minutes, the whole thing is cooked. So we don't really go ahead and marinate food in the fridge for 3 or 4 hours because that takes too much time. So what I usually do is I just grab regular seasoning, salt and peppers. You can grab a whole bunch of different types of random seasoning from cayenne peppers to lemon peppers to mesquite and barbecue flavors. There's tons of them out there. And you can actually add in barbecue sauces, any type of sauces you like, because again, remember, you don't have to worry about calories. So add in anything you like, throw it on the grill, 2 to 5 minutes, your protein is done. When it comes to your carb sources, if you're cooking pasta, easily just grab some dry pasta, boil up some water, put it on a big pot. Once it's boiled, you put the pasta in. With anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, your pasta's done. And really, if you're cooking 1 week's worth of food, you can cook a good amount of pasta in one big pot. Same thing goes with mashed potatoes. You cook the potatoes in there, and then once the potatoes is done, all you do is drain it. You add in your butter, and then you add in some milk, you add in some salt, any type of other seasoning you like. You grab also one of those electric mashed potato spinners. What do they call it? Mixers? Yeah, mashed potato mixers. Mix it up really quick. Within a couple minutes, your mashed potato is all fluffed up and all mixed up, and you're done. There goes your carbs. So, super easy. Last thing is your vegetables, and that's even easier. Because we went through a lot of trial and error on vegetables before, and the easiest thing we found is once you do is you grab a vegetable, like let's say broccoli, all you do is cut it up, or break it apart, and you put it in your Tupperwares raw. So this way, it doesn't get overcooked when you microwave it. Because if you cook your vegetables ahead of time and then you microwave afterwards, it becomes like super mushy, and we ran into that problem a lot of times in the beginning when we're creating the system. So heat it raw, so this way every time your vegetables are going to be crunchy, tasty, you never have to worry about any of the mush.
For sure. And on the vegetables, again, just avoid the super hard ones like carrots that won't microwave. And with the vegetables, just make sure to chop them into pretty small pieces, and then like 2 minutes in the microwave will cook them. One thing that I want to ask you about, Mike, probably one of my favorite proteins when I'm gaining mass is the ground beef, because it's already ground, so it's a lot easier to swallow and eat. How do you cook that on the Foreman grill?
So with ground beef, when you're cooking it on the Foreman grill, once you marinate it, so ground beef, I throw salt, pepper, I throw Worcestershire, I throw some barbecue sauce, I throw some ketchup. You can get pretty creative with ground beef, pretty much mix anything in there. So once you do that, this is what I actually like to do. I grab a whole big slab of ground beef. I don't make little balls because it takes too long. Again, I'm not a chef, so we're going to make it the most simplest possible. The way I see it, doesn't matter how it looks like, all comes out the same. Right? So, okay, so you grab the ground beef, throw it on Foreman grill, you close it up. So once it's done cooking, if you got the super high fat ground beef, and remember what we talked about, if you want to go ahead and regulate the amount of fat you're gaining and you feel like, hey, I might be gaining a little bit of fat, what you can do is right after you go ahead and cook the ground beef, put the ground beef in a drainer. And then afterwards, you grab a large spoon, you can actually grab a mug or something with a good surface, and then you actually press on the ground beef over the sink. And what you're doing is you're pressing the fat out. So this way, it's a good way to save a lot of money, because instead of buying the super lean ground beef, which costs a lot more per pound, you can go ahead and get the cheapest, the most fattiest ground beef, and anytime you want to take the fat out, you just drain it over the sink and press the fat out literally. Then your fatty ground beef becomes lean ground beef. So it's a really good way to save money, and at the same time, it'll help you stay lean.
For sure. And one thing that I try to do just to make things easier to eat a lot of food is kind of my standard meal will be the ground beef, mashed potatoes, and then spinach, which is, super easy to eat.
Yeah.
So if you stick to things like that, if you're having trouble, you can really inhale a lot pretty fast.
Yeah, and this is a special tip here, guys. So when you're eating food, you want to make sure that you can eat the food in a good relative time, and you don't want to sit there for 30 minutes or 40 minutes and have to chew up everything. So an easy way to get food down is making sure that the food is already broken down, which is why mashed potatoes is such a good weight-gaining food, and which is why ground beef, again, is such a good weight-gaining protein, because all the pieces are broken down, so part of the digestive process is already done for you. Because if not, you'd have to put it in your mouth and you have to chew it a whole bunch of times. Yeah, I know what the guys are probably thinking. They're thinking, what do you mean, like you're trying to cut down the chewing time? So keep this in mind, guys. When you're eating all the time, your mouth literally will get sore. You're going to end up building some jaw muscles here. And so just take my word for it, okay? Take my word for it, and no, those foods are probably one of the most easiest ways to eat it, especially when you add in the spinach, because again, when you microwave the spinach up, it breaks down into a mush, and you can mix it all in to where you have a whole Tupperware of mixed in mashed potatoes, ground beef, and spinach. If you pour in some gravy over it, pour in some cheese over it, pour in some sauce over it, It tastes really, really good, and at the same time, you don't have to worry about chewing. You literally put it in your mouth, chew it 3-4 times, and swallow. So, it sounds lazy, but when you're eating every 2 hours, you're going to thank me for it later. So, and if you want to go ahead and get details and get exact step-by-step on how to go ahead and cook these zero willpower meals, or if you'd like us to go ahead and actually demonstrate it for you, check out our actual zero willpower meal videos, and we're going to show you step-by-step how to cook the proteins, how to cook the carbs, and how to cook the vegetables.
For sure. And just keep in mind that that is kind of a general course, so make sure you're using these foods that we recommend in this video. But that can show you how to get the cooking time down a lot. Like when Mike cooks, or when we used to do it ourselves, he cooks the whole week's worth of meals in an hour, the whole thing. We can also show you, how to save money on the meals and basically ways to make this system easier and better for you to follow.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so that covers how to cook your meals. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to real quickly review the 4 Monster Mass diet laws. These are explained in depth in the 15 Universal Laws of Muscle Building, so if you haven't seen that yet, make sure to check those out and check out those diet laws. But because they're so important, we're just going to briefly review these now so you know about them. So Mike, what's the first muscle building diet law?
All right, so the first muscle building diet law is to eat every 2 hours. And again, it may sound like it's a lot of eating, and you're right, it is. It is a lot of eating, but it is necessary for you to make sure you consume the amount of calories that you need in order to gain the muscle. And we talked about it in the 15 Universal Laws of Mass Building. Some of the ways to go and help you do that is to set an alarm. You can set an alarm on your computer, set an alarm on your phone. You can even put sticky notes everywhere. Do whatever it takes to make sure that you're eating every 2 hours on the dot, no exceptions. And in order to do that, a couple of the ways to do that is to make sure to have food around you all the time. So if you're at work or if you're at school, make sure to bring your mass gaining zero willpower meals with you. Another thing is to make sure to have snacks available for you all the time. Nuts, you can have little shakes, you can have bars. And again, you notice that they're outside of the mass gaining zero willpower meals, but it's okay. When it comes to this law, it's just the only thing that matters is that you're eating something every 2 hours. That's it. One thing that I did when I was trying to put on mass is when I was going to school, and I didn't even have a lot of money either, and I didn't know about these type of mass gaining meals, but I was still trying to put on size. I made a whole bunch of sandwiches, and I put them in my backpack. I literally made about 8 to 10 sandwiches every morning, stuck in my backpack, and and while we sitting in class, and I grab a sandwich, and I eat it throughout the day. So no matter what it takes, make sure to eat every 2 hours.
Yeah, basically, the situation you don't want to be in is like 2 hours go up and you got to eat, and you got nothing in your house, and you don't want to scramble. Like basically, you want to have your willpower meals and a backup plan of protein shakes when those run out, and then a backup plan for that. So you always want to have food.
Definitely. So this leads us to the next law, which is to always have food around you. So again, there's no way that you're able to eat every 2 hours unless you have food around you all the time. So, one thing I used to do when I would go to work and, it was weird for everybody else in the office, that I bring literally like 5 meals to work every day, but that's what I did because I was trying to put on size. And so if you're having work and you have a break room, stick it in the fridge. If you're at school, like I said, you can go ahead and put food in your backpack. I had food in my locker. I had food, I was like a little squirrel putting food everywhere. And it may seem a little weird and you may have to kind of get used to it, but just think about it like this. At the end of the day, no matter how people look at you, like, man, this guy has food coming out of everywhere, at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to put on the muscle. You're the one that's going to get bigger, get more badder than everybody else. So don't worry about if people are going to look at you kind of weird because it's all going to pay off at the end.
For sure. And me, what I try to do is, how like drug addicts have like a cache of stuff like everywhere they go. Me, I have like a cache of like non-perishable high-calorie food. Basically, like I go to my parents' house a lot. I travel there, and what I try to do is have a lot of protein shakes and protein bars, and things that's not going to go bad that I can always eat because I know if I don't have that, there's a good chance I'll have no meals and I'll be stuck.
Yeah, and whenever I go work out, I bring a backpack with me right now, and I keep all my stuff in my backpack, and believe it or not, I even have shakes in my backpack right now. So no matter if I'm in my workout and I'm hungry, And for you, same thing. If you're working out and you're like, man, I feel a little bit hungry, you know what, it's time to eat. With that food in mind, just grab it, you can eat on the go. So the summary of this, to wrap it up, is just make sure to have food everywhere, no matter where you're going to be at. You know, if you constantly go to, let's say, your friend's house, it may be kind of weird, but again, same thing. If you're constantly hanging out at your friend's house, ask your friend, hey buddy, can I leave a little bit of food at your place? You know, if not, can I clean out your fridge every day? You know, so it doesn't matter. Wherever you're always at, make sure you have food wherever you're at, so this way you never run into a problem when it's time to eat.
Okay. So, the third law, in addition to eating every 2 hours, you also, on top of this, want to eat a pre- and post-workout meal or snack. So, for example, like one thing that I like to do is before a workout, I'll eat a banana, and then after the workout, I'll eat a protein shake. So it's just a little bit before and after. Really doesn't take me that much effort and actually makes my workout a little bit easier, but it's just a good habit to get into. And just make sure you're not doing this as a meal. Make sure you're also doing your meals every 2 hours in addition to that.
Yeah, because a lot of times if you don't eat something before your workout, there's a good chance that, again, in the middle of your workout, you're going to feel like you're running out of fuel, and you're going to run into two things. Either you have to eat right in the middle of your workout, which you could, but the ideal way is to have enough food beforehand, or you just go ahead and go, screw it, let me go ahead and finish the workout out without eating anything, and now you run into the chances of your body breaking down your muscles as fuel, and that is, you know, the worst thing to ever do. So you want to make sure to eat beforehand, and you want to eat afterwards, because when you work out, you're breaking down your muscles, and so your muscles need calories to recover. So make sure that you go ahead and eat protein, eat carbs, make sure to eat a full meal, you know, right after you work out. The sooner, the better, because once you're done with your workout, the time is ticking, and it's time to go ahead and get food into your system. The longer you wait, the more chances of your body breaking down your own muscles and breaking down protein in your body to try to recover instead of getting it from the food that you're supposed to be eating.
For sure. And I know you're probably thinking like that in addition to every 2 hours sounds kind of crazy, but it is really important you aim for 100% compliance on that, because one thing I learned from Mike too is that nobody really follows what they say they're going to follow 100%. Like the most anybody ever really follows it is like maybe 80%, usually more like 50%. So if you aim for like doing it 50% of the time, you actually do it like 25% of the time. So really, really try to hit those, you know, every 2 hours and before and after, and you probably end up getting it most of the time.
Yeah, that is a good point. Always shoot for the moon, or you shoot for the stars and you hit the moon. That's a really good one.
Okay, so that kind of leads into the last muscle building diet law, which is that you got to stick to quality, high calorie foods for at least 80% of your diet. Can you talk a little bit about that, Mike?
So it's really easy to stick to high calorie foods, high calorie quality foods, if you're cooking your meals in advance. So this way, making sure that you have your mass gaining zero willpower meals. The only time you run into this problem is when you're trying to follow these laws, but you don't have the food available. Then you're going to be running to the fast food places. You're going to start scavenging, trying to grab whatever you can to eat, and you're going to end up eating a lot of these, you know, high fat, high sugars, but a lot of these junk foods, and then you're going to run into the problems of gaining too much fat without even gaining muscle. So make sure to go ahead and do the right thing and have the meals ahead of time, have it everywhere you go, so this way you can make sure you can have the high quality foods. Because at the end of the day, even though you know you want to gain weight, but out of the weight, what's more important is gaining that muscle. Because you want to, at the end of the day, you want to look in the mirror, you want to feel good about your body, you want to feel good about the way you look. And it's not just what the scale says, it's about the way you look and it's about the muscles that you build. So that's why it's really important to make sure the high calorie, high fat foods that you're eating are high quality, like the ones we talked about.
And we give you as a rough guideline, you know, 80% should be your zero willpower meals or your quality foods. Can you give them an idea though of how much they could cheat and, you know, still be okay and still not gain too much fat? Like how many cheat meals per week do you think?
So a general rule usually is you want to go ahead and make sure 80% of your meals are healthy, high fat, healthy, high calorie foods, and then the 20% can be, you know, a little bit outside of that. You know, once in a while, you know, have a burger, have some fries, a couple of scoops of ice cream, no big deal, you know, especially when you're trying to gain weight. You just got to keep this in mind that the more, you know, junk foods that you eat, the more fat gains you're going to gain. So just kind of keep that in mind and kind of regulate it as you go. Now, if you find that, your body fat is not a problem at all and your weight gains are really good, then you have a little bit more room to go ahead and cheat. Because, again, these junk foods do taste really good and it's really just a good way to kind of get some extra calories in. But just keep that in mind. You always want to look at how much fat you're really gaining and how much muscle you're really gaining. So if you find yourself to where, right off the bat, you're gaining good muscle, but you're gaining a good amount of fat also, then make sure you keep your junk foods at a minimum. And I think just as long as you go ahead and gauge it that way, you shouldn't have to worry too much. You never want to be like one of those guys where you have to go ahead and be super, super, super strict on everything, because it becomes too difficult and too complicated, and that becomes really tough to follow, and most guys aren't going to be able to follow it if you do it that way.
Okay, so those are the Monster Mass diet laws. What we want to do now is we want to answer some of the most common questions that guys have asked us about Monster Mass and about muscle gaining diets. So the first one kind of obviously is what should a guy do if he's not making gains? What should he change?
So the first thing you want to look at is your workout. Are you consistent on your workouts? Are you working out 4 to 5 days a week? And if you are consistent on your workouts, the next thing you want to look at is, are you following the workouts as the way we've written it? Are you doing the amount of sets? Are you doing the amount of repetitions? A lot of times your repetitions can be too high. Are you doing the 8 repetitions? Are you doing the max reps like how we designed it to be? And also, are you replacing the exercises with easier exercises? You got to keep in mind that we designed everything to make sense to go ahead and help you gain the most amount of mass. So if you're doing the workouts correctly, then the next thing you want to look at is food loss. So are you eating every 2 hours? Or are you doing it on certain days but not on all day? Are you keeping food around everywhere you go? So there's a lot of these things that you got to go ahead and make sure you're following, and that is probably the most important thing. And I can probably guess that I would say about 80% of guys that aren't seeing the gains probably are not either doing the workouts right, or you're not following one of the food laws. So let's just say if you're following all the food laws down to a T and you're still not getting the gains that you want to gain, then let's go ahead and dive into what to do next. So let's kick it off and let's start off with carbs. So again, carbs is probably the thing that you need to change the most when it comes to gaining mass and gaining muscle. So I would say that if you want to go ahead and see more gains, you want to start your carbs off with the most extreme amount of calories and extreme amount of fat. So I would go with mashed potatoes with gravy. Those two combinations are probably the most high calorie and the most fastest way to go ahead and gain size and gain muscle, and just by far the easiest way to put on weight.
For sure. And if you're really doing these workouts, 4 or 5 days a week, you're eating mashed potatoes and gravy every 2 hours, and you're still not putting on size, there's no way that can happen. If you do this every 2 hours and you do the workouts, you're going to put on size.
Yeah, if you're not putting on size, go to the doctor because you have tapeworms.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so that's the most extreme way to go ahead and put on size. And if you want to go ahead and go a little less extreme and make sure that you're regulating the amount of fat that you're gaining, the next step down would be mashed potatoes without the extra gravy. And, again, that's still a very good extreme way to put on size, but that extra gravy is just, kind of icing on the cake. It's those extra calories that are going to really go ahead, put you over the edge, and make sure that you're gaining size. Another thing that I didn't mention on that first one is if you don't like gravy, or if you want to go ahead and get really extreme, butter is also another good one. Sour cream is also another good one. Coconut oil or other different types of oils to really go ahead and put the topping, put the icing on the cake to really go ahead and get that extreme amount of calories with your mashed potatoes.
For sure. And if you don't like mashed potatoes, an alternative that you can actually make is mashed sweet potatoes, which is one I love. Basically, if you take a bunch of sweet potatoes, boil them up the same way as mashed potatoes, and then mash them with butter and brown sugar, that's an alternative that you can use right there too. Yeah. And the thing is, even if you don't like potatoes that much, if you're really doing the exercises and you're eating all the meals and you're not gaining mass, you've got to be in kind of an extreme carb. You've got to step it up to that extreme level because that's not why you're not gaining the size.
Yeah. And, again, so the next level down from that would be something like baked potatoes. Baking it because it's a little lower in calories, but it's still a potato form, so you're still going to go ahead and make sure you gain good size with that. And, with the baked potatoes, you can can put a lot of different things on it. Again, the butter, the sour cream. You can put chives. You can go ahead and put different types of meat. You can get a little fancy with it, but the base of it is still, a baked potato. A little less calories, but still really good for gaining size.
For sure. So what if a guy has the opposite problem? What if a guy is doing this and he starts gaining excessive fat? How should he change things up?
Well, the first thing you want to look at if you're gaining too much fat is how much junk food are you really eating? So remember the 80-20 rule, right? So most likely you're probably eating too much junk food and not enough high quality, high fat, high calorie foods. So I would start off by cutting down your junk food. And if you still don't see a drop in your fat, then you want to go ahead and cut out the junk food completely and just stick with only mass gaining zero willpower meals. And the next step down from that is to actually dive into your mass gaining zero willpower meals and again, look at the carbs. So on the last section, we talked about how to go ahead and increase the calories from your carbs to make sure you get the gains. So now we're doing vice versa. We're doing the total opposite. So you want to look at your carbs and you want to start taking it one notch down at a time. So if you're eating, let's say, the mashed potatoes and, the gravy or the butter, and you feel like, you're getting a little bit too fat, then you want to go ahead and cut out the gravy, cut out the butter, and take it one step down like that. And one step down from there would be to go to sweet potatoes. And then if you go down again, you may go with something like rice or pasta and just take out potatoes altogether. So the last part you want to go down to is probably going to something like brown rice, because brown rice is going to go ahead and gain the weight the slowest, but if you're seeing too much rapid fat gain, that's probably the best option to go with. Now, the last tip is if you want to go to the extreme and you want to really make sure you're only gaining a little bit of fat with your muscle gain, is you can go ahead and cut the portion of your carbohydrates down. So remember we talked about when you're looking at a meal, it should have a third being protein, a third being carbohydrates, and a third being vegetables. And you remember how I said if you want to go ahead and get the extreme gains, to go ahead and increase the portion of your carbohydrates. So if you're seeing too much fat gains, the best thing to do after cutting down, switching your carb sources, is if you're down to the brown rice already and you're still seeing a little bit too much fat gain, you can limit the amount of brown rice. So keep this in mind. So if you're still seeing a lot of fat gains, you really want to go ahead and look at the laws and see which part you're missing. Because if you're following all the laws down to a T, you shouldn't really have to go ahead and resort down to cutting down your carbs. Because there's got to be something else that's missing. But given that everything is done right, that will be the last thing you want to do to go ahead and make sure your fat gain is at a minimum.
Yeah, for sure. And, if you signed up for this program, it's probably because you're, a skinny guy. So if you're gaining fat, it's probably not because you're eating potatoes. It's probably just because you're eating Doritos. You know what I mean? Like, that's probably it. But if you are really complying, you can try stepping down those carbs.
Okay, so the next section we're going to talk about is traveling. Now, traveling could be difficult a lot of times if you're trying to go ahead and gain weight. So if you're one of the guys that travel pretty often, I would recommend definitely picking up the zero willpower eating system, because there's a section in there called Busy Man Shortcuts, to where it'll teach you different type of styles of how to go ahead and have food available without having a kitchen, without having a Foreman grill, without having any of those essentials on cooking meals, and what to do then. So that will definitely help you stay on track and make sure you're still able to gain weight without having to change up any of your travel plans.
For sure. Yeah, and we have a bunch of tricks that we personally use when we travel, and we go into more in depth in that video. But for now, what do you think is like a few basic things that guys really have to get down for a minimum when they travel?
So when you're traveling, if you don't have any meals, some of the best ways to go ahead and get your proteins in and get your carbs in is when it comes to protein, try to look for canned foods. Canned tunas or canned chickens or things like that. Non-perishable, ones that you don't need a stove, you don't need a Foreman grill, anything to cook. They're already pre-made, they're already ready to go. When it comes to carbs, you can go with breads, you can go with like rice cakes, you can go with like microwavable rices or pastas or like noodles, things like that doesn't require any type of stove. So worst case scenario when you're traveling is to go ahead and just eat out and just make sure that you get enough food in when you're eating out. Or when you're eating out, instead of worrying about just getting that meal in, order something to go or order a little extra, so this way you have the next 1 or 2 or maybe even up to 3 meals ready for you when it's time to eat. So if you want to get more details on what to do when traveling, make sure to check out the Busy Man Shortcuts, because we're going to lay into details on step by step what to do when that comes.
For sure. So another thing that a lot of guys have been saying is that, Mike, I want to do this, but I don't have time to cook all these meals every week. What would you say to a guy like that?
So the easiest way to do it if you don't have time to cook every week is to go to places or go to companies that sell pre-made meals already. So that would probably be the easiest, and a pre-made meal would run anywhere from about $7, $8 a meal, depending on where you get it, maybe up to about 12 to 13. So what I usually recommend if that becomes a little costly for you is you can go to the store, you can go ahead and buy pre-made food already. So for example, for protein, a lot of grocery stores actually have food that's already cooked, and you can just buy it by the pound. If it's chicken, if it's beef, if it's certain types of dishes. When it comes to carbs, you can buy potato salad, mashed potatoes, you can buy pasta salads, and a lot of different types of pre-made foods already. So after you buy those, you can put them in Tupperware and eat it that way. But if you find that cooking just becomes too long for you and that you're going over 2 hours or you're going over 3 hours in your cooking process, I would definitely recommend picking up the zero willpower eating system, because there's going to be a lot of shortcuts in there that's going to help condense your cooking time down. So this way, not only can you go ahead and make sure you get your cooking done every single week, but also not spend so much extra time or so much extra money, going out and buying those foods.
And really, if you're doing this right, doing the pre-cooked meal should save you time. It shouldn't take you extra time.
Yeah.
So if it is taking you extra time, you really just need to learn how to do it the right way. Just pick up that zero willpower system and get that time done. Okay, so probably the second most asked question, besides I'm just not making gains, is guys saying that they're having trouble eating enough or consuming all the food that we recommend they eat. So if a guy is having that problem, what are some ways that he can eat a little bit more?
So that's probably going to be the biggest challenge for you, is struggling to eat enough food. So the first thing I would recommend is don't multitask. And this is what I mean by multitasking. So I got a really good buddy of ours, and I see it literally every day. The guy grabs food, he sits in front of his computer, he eats one bite, and while he's chewing, he does something on his computer, and then 5 minutes later, one more bite. So, this is probably pretty common now, no matter if you're in front of a computer, or if you're doing some work, or if you're watching some TV, or no matter what you're doing, you want to go ahead and stop all multitasking and really focus on eating. Now, for normal people, eating is kind of like an enjoyment type of activity. It's kind of like, hey, let's go and eat and watch some TV, let's eat and hang out. But for you, eating is a job. You look at the food, your whole mission is to get the food into your belly. Kind of like that movie, Austin Powers, right? Get in my belly, right? Get the food into your belly, and you want to do it efficiently and as fast as possible. So no multitasking, just cut down whatever you're doing and just spend a few minutes just scarfing it down, okay? So don't concentrate on anything else. Because multitasking, number one, your food's going to get cold, and it's going to become less appetizing as it is, and you're not going to want to eat it. And, so you want to make sure you have no distractions whatsoever. And the second thing I would say would be, part of multitasking would be to eat your food as fast as possible. Because if you're struggling to eat food, that means it's not one of those things that you really enjoy. So if you don't enjoy something, the last thing you want to do is prolong it. So make sure you try to eat food as fast as possible. Make it kind of like a race. And, and I literally mean as fast as possible. I mean, you need to have the Tupperware or your plate right here by your face, and you need to just go ahead and scarf it down. Don't look at anybody, don't do anything else, don't check your phone, and you just want to concentrate like a race every single time. Now, it may seem kind of extreme, but it actually does work, and I've actually personally done it for many, many years. And if you ever have a chance to talk to anybody that are very close friends of mine, they will tell you that Mike, when he eats, he has the food up to there, and he feels it's just like he's never eaten before. And yet, this is like the 6th time he's eaten today. And why? Because, again, once you get it down really quickly, you're done with it. And, you shouldn't spend so much time on eating. Max a few minutes, and you're done. So those 2 tips are really good for helping to get food down. What would you say would be another good tip, Dad, to help you get food down a lot faster and just if you struggle with it?
Another thing that I think helps a lot, especially for me, is mashing or grinding all your food up as much as possible. Like I said before, my ideal meal is the ground beef, the mashed potatoes and gravy, and the spinach. basically I could drink that meal if I wanted to. It really does make it much, much easier to eat, and that's a ton of calories. And another thing I wanted to say too is that I've actually gotten seen Mike eat every day, and this guy that he's talking about that like eats from his computer. And
we're not gonna say any names, Henry.
Because it's out there now. But anyways, you can see like there's a huge difference in mass, and a lot of times they just assume that's my genetics, that's your genetics, but really it's your eating habits. You really got to be like as professional about your eating as you are about your workouts.
So another personal trick that I like to do to help myself eat more food is using my favorite sauces. And this is something I figured out. I started off with using just a couple different sauces, and now I literally have like a cabinet full of sauces, and they're at the office, with all of our team members, same way. We have literally like 20-something sauces, no exaggeration. And the reason why is, again, because there's a lot of guys on our team that are running into the same problem. They're trying to gain weight, and, they're finding it hard to, eat enough food. So the sauces make it really fun for them to go ahead and add the flavors that they like, if they didn't go ahead and cook the food the way they perfectly like it in the beginning. So it's a really good way to basically add extra flavoring after you're done cooking a meal. And at the same time, again, you don't have to worry about the extra calories that the sauce will bring on because those extra calories are really good for you.
For sure. Another kind of shortcut to eat a little bit more is if you always have protein shakes around. If you have protein powder, or if you want to take it a step up, if you have ready-made protein shakes like I do, basically what this will do is this will take away all your excuses. Because I know me, there's a lot of times where like I'm not really that hungry, or I don't have time to eat a meal, but it really takes only 20, 30 seconds to chug a protein shake. So you never can really say you don't have time to chug a protein shake. So I always recommend to just keep protein shakes around as a plan B, and really that will ensure that you have no excuse to not eat.
Nice. And the next tip on top of that would be spending a little more time and cooking your favorite foods. Because it's really tough for somebody to kind of twist your arm by eating something you don't want, but think about your favorite foods that you like. And whatever it is, if you can eat your favorite food all the time, that'll make eating a lot more enjoyable. So, spend some time cooking your favorite foods and just eat your favorite foods all the time. That will definitely help. Another thing is maybe spending a little more money and buying more tastier foods. For example, let's say, we always recommend eating beef as one of the staples for protein just because it has a really good protein source, but it's super high in fat and calories, which will be really good for gaining muscle and gaining size. So when it comes to beef, you can get the cuts that are not as desirable, like the shoulder cuts and things like that. But if, eating is one of your problems that you have, find the best cuts that are the most tastiest. For example, for myself, I like to eat ribeye. Ribeye steaks, I can eat those every day, every meal. They're super high in fat, they're super, moist, they just fall off and they just melt in your mouth. See, I'm like getting all hungry just thinking about it. So, that's another tip to help you with your, with your eating challenges.
Yeah, for sure, and I did the same thing too. And one thing that I noticed too is when I first started trying to eat like you recommended, it was so hard for me. So I did this because I can eat ribeye like 6 meals a day, no problem.
Yeah.
But if you just like spend a little bit more to get really good food the first few weeks, you'll probably find after that you're kind of in the habit. So you could probably step it down after that, and you'll still have the habit.
Yeah, definitely. So another tip is to go ahead and set an alarm on your phone. So remember we talked about one of the laws is eating every 2 hours. So make sure to set an alarm on your phone because you're most likely going to have your phone wherever you go. So it helps to go ahead and keep reminding you to go ahead and eat. Now, if you're struggling to eat all the time, or you're struggling to eat a lot of food, then it's probably going to be pretty tough for you to go ahead and eat full meals every 2 hours. And it's okay. It's going to be a habit you're going to have to build up to. But in the meantime, try eating something every 2 hours. Now, you can do something like this. Either maybe eating, let's say, half a meal every 2 hours. So on a 4-hour basis, you're eating a full meal. Now, that's good for the beginning to go ahead and build a habit, but eventually, don't forget, you're going to have to eat that full meal every 2 hours. Another thing is maybe try eating a snack on a 2-hour basis. A snack on one and then a full meal on the other. But no matter what it takes, though, make sure to have an alarm set, and that will also help remind you. Because if you struggle with eating, the likelihood of you avoiding it or forgetting is really, really high. So that alarm really helps you out.
Yeah, for sure. I would say another thing too, like if you've done all this stuff and really like last ditch resort, like all this stuff and you're still not able to eat as much, one thing that I would say is to stop worrying about cheating so much and to start focusing all your attention on just eating enough food. So it would be ideal if you just followed this exactly as we laid it out and just ate the high calorie quality foods. But, you know, if you're not able to do that, it would be better that you at least have the calories from somewhere, even if it's not the best source. So at least you're not in a deficit and you don't actually start losing muscle. So I would say, you know, try all the other stuff first. Really try as hard as you can to get the quality high calorie foods. If you can't do that though, don't worry about the cheating and just make sure you've got enough calories.
So another thing is to go ahead and avoid appetite suppressants like caffeine, found in like, let's say, coffee, you know, energy drinks, or some pre-workout supplements. Because, you know, that is going to go ahead and kill your appetite and, you know, to make you not want to eat no matter what. Another thing is any type of amphetamines, you know, any type of Adderall or, you know, cocaine or stuff like that. Not saying you're going to do any of that stuff, but, you know, all that stuff really destroys your appetite and it makes it really hard for you to, you know, eat anything or make your body want to eat anything at all.
For sure. Yeah, so definitely avoid that stuff. One other thing that I would say, which I know helped Mike out a lot, and which helped me a lot too, is hang out with other people who are also trying to bulk up. So that way the stuff you're doing doesn't seem weird. It's just the thing everyone's doing. One thing you guys don't see a lot about him is that like a lot of his friends are also like into bodybuilding and working out too. So a lot of them are doing the same thing. So it's really, it just seems normal. You know what I mean? You don't feel weird. I will say though, generally you should avoid trying to hang around with people who are trying to lose fat because really they're trying to do the opposite thing as you. They're probably shocked that you're able to stay lean doing some of this stuff. I will say though, if you do have to hang around people who have to lose fat, one thing that can kind of help your motivation to bulk is to see how much more difficult they have it than you, because losing fat is way, way harder than bulking. Like this is the easy part, just eating more food. So if you see like how much you have to suffer being hungry, it might make you realize, you know, I don't have it that hard.
I always talk a lot of smack to guys on our team, you know, when I'm trying to diet down and trying to make sure I look the best, keep my abs, and then you see the guy talking about, oh man, I don't want to, you know, eat this steak and mashed potatoes, and I look at him like, you know, I switch places with you, you know, in a second, because I'm over here eating vegetables, you know, so yeah, that really actually does help, and you know, trust me, I always say it, gaining weight is so much more funner, so much more nicer, so much more pleasant than losing weight. Because gaining weight means you're eating and you're doing what's natural. And, you know, losing weight means you're depriving yourself. And so it's just not fun at all. So that is definitely a really good one.
Okay, guys. So one final last ditch resort tip if you really cannot manage to eat enough. Now, I'm not saying this is something you should do. But, of course, smoking marijuana is illegal. We don't endorse it or recommend it in any way. But if you were to do it, your appetite would probably go up a lot. So I gotta say though, if you do choose to do this, just make sure you're not eating junk food. And also, I know a lot of people who do this a lot, they tend to get lazy. Just make sure you're actually doing your workouts and not getting lazy too. But if you can get those two things done, it will help you eat a lot more. But just make sure it's not hurting you as well.
Yeah, like you see in the movies, they get the munchies and all that stuff. It is a way to go ahead and help with your appetite. So again, the most important thing is no matter which way you find is the easiest for you to go ahead and get the food into your body, just know that the bottom line is if you don't get that food into your body, if you don't find a solution, you know, to getting enough food, you're never going to put on the size, you're never going to put on that muscle.
Yeah, we're giving you lots of tools to do it, but you got to use it now, like whether it's protein shake or the download tip that we just recommended or whatever it is. But however you have to get it done, just make sure you get it done. Okay. So what you guys do if you have any questions about bulking that we didn't answer yet?
So if you have questions about bulking and you still haven't got your questions answered yet, the best way to do is if you have advanced fitness coaching, contact your trainer. They can help you out with any type of diet questions, any type of fitness questions, even workout questions. That's probably the best solution because even though these are all really good tips and, you know, most of the time these tips should be able to help everybody no matter what type of scenario, what type of lifestyle you have. But there may be some times where you come into some special circumstances or some special occasions that you have that maybe we haven't covered. So that will probably be the best solution to go ahead and make sure you gain the muscle and gain your weight really quickly. If you don't have advanced fitness coaching, no problem. You can also contact us by calling 1-800-855-6576, and we'll go ahead and get you set up. so this way we can take care of these challenges for you and making sure you're gaining your muscle super fast.
Okay, so that's about it for the information in this video, and I think you gave some really good stuff in this video. But what action steps would you recommend guys take right now to make sure they actually implement all this stuff?
So very important to take action right away. Step number one, cook your food right away. So if you don't have the food available in your fridge or in your pantry, go out to the grocery store, buy the proteins, buy the carbs, and buy the veggies, and buy your Tupperwares. Get all the tools that you need and cook your meals right away. I can't stress enough that you have to take action in what we're telling you in order to go ahead and make this happen for you. Number two is right after you do that, schedule a time every single week to go ahead and do it on a regular schedule. So for example, if today was a Tuesday or today was a Wednesday and you want to cook on Sunday, well, just make sure you cook enough meals to last till your actual day that you want to cook all of your meals on a regular basis, and then start on a regular weekly basis from then on. But please do not wait 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. Do not wait till your actual time to go ahead and get those meals cooked. Do it immediately because you want your results as fast as possible, and we want to make sure we keep you accountable to that. So take action immediately. The last thing to do is go ahead and also pick up a protein shake, pick up a mass gainer shake or a weight gainer shake. So this way, anytime they don't have any food available, you can always have your shakes available. And like I said, it only takes a few seconds to a minute, and you can put down up to 1,000 calories. So there you have it, guys. This is your Monster Mass diet. I hope this helped you out. Make sure to take action right away and be prepared to put on some serious muscle. We'll see you guys in the next video. What's up, guys? It's Chang, and welcome to Monster Mass. Now, this video, we're going to be learning about the 15 universal laws of putting on mass. So you're going to learn how you can put on muscle much faster than most of the workout programs you tried in the past, or maybe some of the workout programs you've seen on the internet, or on TV, or in the magazines. The reason why is because a lot of workout programs are geared towards fat loss. So those workout tips and techniques aren't going to help you put on size. Another reason why Monster Mass is going to work a lot better for you is because a lot of the workout programs are made for average guys. And average guys aren't looking to put on a lot of massive muscle. They're looking to slap on a little bit of muscle here and there, help get toned up. But in this program, if your goal is to slap on as much muscle as fast as you can onto your body frame in the shortest amount of time, then you come to the right place, because that is exactly what we're going to do. We're also going to go over a concept called monster sets that's going to help you put on muscle a lot faster with less gym time. And we'll dig into the details about that a little bit later in the video. So before we get started, let me share a quick story with you. So I got a buddy named Johnson, and when we first met a few years ago, the guy was completely frustrated. He was trying everything he can to gain muscle, but yet nothing worked for him. He took a lot of supplements, he was in the gym all the time, and he wasn't just a beginner. The guy knew how to work out, but yet he still couldn't put on the muscle that he wanted. He even read a whole bunch of muscle magazines and took a lot of advice from there. He was doing a lot of cardio, he was doing a lot of bodyweight exercises, and at the end of the day, he was still the skinny guy with a little bit of muscle. And I still won't forget when he asked me, Mike, what am I doing wrong? Because he pretty much tried everything he could, and he wasn't getting the results that he wanted. And this is probably one of the biggest mistakes that skinny guys make. And so this is what I told Johnson. I told him, Johnson, you have to stop doing what everybody is telling you to do when it comes to gaining mass. Because a lot of times, I probably have to do the total opposite of what people are telling you. Here's the reason why. Most people's goals is fat loss. They want to lose weight. But if you're wanting to go ahead and gain size and gain mass and gain as much muscle as you can on your body, you have to go ahead and do very, very different things than what these guys are wanting to lose weight are telling you. Now, even if they want to go ahead and tell you about muscle building tips, most guys, remember, are not trying to pack on a significant amount of muscle. They may want to tone up, they may want to get fit, but if your goal is to put on as much muscle as you can, you have to do very, very different things in order to achieve that. So, for example, most people tell you to eat fewer calories. But if you're trying to gain mass, you have to do the opposite. You have to eat as much calories as you can, so this way you got the nutrients to help you put on that size. So most people also do cardio when they're doing any type of exercise program, so this way they can burn fat and get in shape. But if you're trying to put on muscle, then you actually should eliminate cardio from your workout almost completely. The reason why is because cardio is going to burn extra calories that your body needs in order to put on the muscle, and also cardio can burn valuable muscle that you're trying to gain. Most people avoid unhealthy foods because it's bad for you, like steak, starches, sugars, and things like that. But when it comes to gaining mass, you actually have to go ahead and attack those foods. You have to eat the steaks, eat the red meats, eat the high-calorie foods, because even though they're unhealthy for people trying to lose weight, but for people who are wanting to put on size and muscle, they're actually perfect food for you to put on that size. So the main point is this: you have to stop listening to most of the mainstream fitness advice out there because they're not going to help you gain weight. And you should only concentrate on the fitness advice that's specifically designed to help guys like you put on size. And I still remember, it wasn't until Johnson completely stopped listening to all the stuff that he was listening to at that time and only paid attention to the mass gaining techniques that we talked about, was he able to start seeing the results. And as you can see on the screen, he totally changed the way he looks. His body, I mean, he packed on so much muscle, it's unbelievable. His whole life changed for the better. And in this video, I'm going to share with you exactly what Johnson did, step by step, to go ahead and gain that muscle, and how you can apply that to your own body and get the same results. Alright, so law number 1, focus on compound lifts. So a compound lift is basically any exercise that uses more than one major muscle group at a time. So typically there's one large muscle group that ends up handling majority of the workload, and then one more smaller muscle group that are used to support during the exercise. So for example, a compound lift will be like a squat. An isolation lift will be more like curling a single dumbbell with one arm. So compound lifts work a large amount of muscles at one time, and isolation lifts focus usually on just one muscle group individually. So when it comes to gaining mass, compound lifts are just far more superior than isolation lifts because you're able to recruit a much larger amount of muscle fibers with each repetition. See, the best part about monster sets is that we are using back-to-back compound exercises to shock the hell out of your muscles. See, training this way is going to generate the maximum amount of muscle recruitment, basically blowing every muscle on your body up like a balloon. So these lifts also cause a huge spike in muscle-building hormones like testosterone and growth hormones. Now, these hormones are actually really, really important for gaining mass. The reason why is because when you place your body under this full-body stress of compound lifts, your body naturally begins to secrete more of these hormones. Now, this happens during compound lifts because your body is using multiple muscle groups at the same time. Now, this way it's creating a tremendous amount of stress. Now, having these important hormones flooding through your system is like the vital key to increasing your body's mass at an alarming rate. So here's an example of compound exercises: bench presses, squats, deadlifts, barbell bent over rolls, or overhead presses, lunges. Always remember to use these lifts as a staple in your exercise routine, and you'll always get huge. That's why if you look at the Monster Mass program, we incorporate all of these compound lifts as one of the core basics so we can make sure we put on the most amount of muscle in the shortest amount of time. Law number 2, go heavy or go home. So you must be lifting heavier than the average gym guy, because this means with each set, you need to be using the heaviest amount of weight and the most challenging amount of weight possible while maintaining proper form and hitting your target rep range. So what's considered a heavy weight for you? Heavyweight really is all relative depending on the person. So, for example, if you're a beginner, you should be using the heaviest weight that you can while completing 8 solid repetitions. Now, if you're a more advanced lifter, you should be warming up with lighter weight and then use the weight that you control for perfect form for about 6 to about 8 reps. Now, it's extremely important to always use heavy weight because heavy poundage digs deeper into your muscle fibers than light weight, which basically in turn creates a harder, more denser and thicker muscle. See, when you force yourself to increase the amount of weight you use in each week, your strength level skyrockets up. And always remember that your muscle becomes stronger, they will become bigger. So I remember when an old friend of mine called me up one day and asked me why he never got sore after his workouts. And so I asked him a couple of questions. I asked him, so when do you stop a set or when do you drop the weights? And he told me that he picked a number of reps that he knows he can do, and once he finishes the last one, it's over, he just re-racks it. Now, he's a pretty good friend of mine, but after he told me that, I'd have let him know how much of a freaking pussy he was. Because if you're serious about building muscle, every single set that you do, it has to be balls to the wall. You have to drive every last possible inch of repetition until you cannot even budge the weight a centimeter. See, that is training to failure. See, the bottom line is, unless you know where your red line maximum overload point is, you will never have a goal to get better. You'll just kind of flutter in and out, and you'll just do sets with like no apparent direction. See, you should be lifting heavy enough weights where you anticipate that you may not be able to finish that last rep. And that's good, because remember that reaching the failure will only happen if you are regularly attempting to lift more weight. All right, guys, law number 3. Make sure to schedule your workouts no matter what, no exceptions. So the problem with most guys is they don't schedule their workouts. They tell themselves, hey, I'm going to work out in the morning time, I'm going to work out in the afternoon or at night, after work. They never get to it. And at the end, consistency becomes the biggest problem for them because they don't have a scheduled workout time. So most of the time when people miss their workouts, they'll tell themselves, well, I'm going to go ahead and try harder next time to work out more. But that's never going to happen if you don't schedule your workout. You cannot wing it, okay? You got to treat working out just like a job. Imagine going to work without a schedule. You know, your boss tells you one day, hey, you don't got to show up for work at this time anymore. Just come whenever you want. Imagine how many people would miss work, right? I mean, you know you would. I would. That's for sure. So make sure you go ahead and treat it right. If you're going to work out, make sure you have a scheduled time so you can make sure you get your workouts in. Now, the best time to schedule your workout is either in the morning time before work or before school or afterwards, okay, after work. So there's a pros and cons for both, and I'm going to go ahead and share those with you now. So the pros about working out in the morning time before work is it's the first thing you do in the morning. So it's a great thing because you don't have anything lined up beforehand, and it's a great way to start off the day. You know, you feel like you accomplished something, you have a good amount of energy, you're ready to take on the day, especially after you get a good workout. So the con on that is if you wake up a little bit late, you're not going to be able to get your workout in because you got to go to work. So you got to decide if that's going to work out for you. Now, if you work out after work, the good thing about that is a lot of times work can be a little stressful, you can be feeling a little frustrated, and working out after work is a great way to blow off some steam. If you go ahead and work out after work, you may be a little fatigued, you may be a little bit tired because you went through a whole day of work. So you may not be able to give 100% of your energy because your energy levels may be a little bit low. So depending on which one works for you, you have to decide for yourself on that one. Now, if you decide to go ahead and work out after work, I have a very important tip for you. That's it. So the tip is you got to make sure that if you go to the gym, go straight to the gym and do not stop by home no matter what. Okay, let me repeat that. If you work out at the gym, do not stop by home. If you do, I promise you, you will not stay consistent. Okay, it happened to me too many times. That's why I know. Do not stop by home. Bring your gym clothes, bring your tennis shoes, put it in your trunk, put it in your gym bag. Carry it with you. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But make sure to go straight to the gym and get your workout in. Now, if you work out at home, same rule applies, okay? So when you go home, do your workout right away. There is no downtime. There is no relaxing. Don't kick up your feet, okay? Make sure you go ahead and handle it right away. That is a very, very big tip for anybody that works out after work or even after school, because that's going to ensure that you get your workout in. Law number 4, always attempt to lift more weight than you did in that last workout. Because remember, if you want to get big, you got to lift some heavy-ass weight. Law number 4, always attempt to lift more weight than you did in your last workout. Why? Because heavy weight gets you bigger muscles. Just like what Ronnie Coleman said, everybody want to be a bodybuilder, but ain't nobody want to lift no heavy-ass weight. What does that mean? Very simple. If you want your muscles to get bigger, you got to go heavier. Simply put, there's no way around that. So the only way you can go heavier is by pushing yourself. See, the problem with most guys is that they're pretty content on the amount of weight they lift. You know, they're pretty happy if they can do this much weight for reps of 10, why push more, right? And so they don't. They just do the 10. Why? Because pushing is hard and it's tiring. But guess what? Those are also the guys that are plateaued. Those are also the guys that you see month after month, year after year, they look exactly the same. Why? Because if they don't push themselves to lift more weight, their muscles don't have a reason to get bigger, okay? So you always try to go ahead and lift more weight than you did in that last workout. Just make sure that you have good form. Now, if your form is all over the place, don't worry about the weight. Worry about the form first. But once you get your form down, always lift more weight than what you did in the last workout, or at least attempt to. Now, let me tell you now, if you don't get more weight on the next workout, it's okay. Notice how I said attempt to do it. And it's perfectly normal because you're not going to get super strong with just one workout, okay? That's just the honest truth. So don't worry. But if you try to go ahead and lift more weight, that means you're on the right track. That also means you're going to be hitting failure pretty often, okay? And if you do, you're doing the right thing. Now, if you follow the program correctly, you should be getting stronger pretty rapidly, okay? And if you're not, and you're hitting some plateaus, I want you to look at a couple different things. There's only three basic things when it comes to getting big and gaining muscle. Number one, lifting weights or your workouts. Are you consistent on your workouts? Are you substituting some of the workouts for easier ones or different ones? Okay? Make sure not to do that. Make sure to look at your workouts and make sure you're doing them right. Okay? Just exactly like how we put it in the program. Number two, your diet. Are you eating the calories? Okay? Are you getting enough food in your system to support your body getting stronger, getting bigger? Number three, sleep. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you pulling all-nighters? Are you only getting 3 or 4 hours on some days? Okay? Getting enough sleep means every single night. It doesn't mean out of 7 days I slept good for 3 days and just, drank coffee and just stayed up on the other night. No, man, you got to go ahead and make sure you get sleep on all the nights. Are you doing those things right? Now, if you can't figure it out and you're a little frustrated, no problem, okay? Don't get frustrated. We're here to help. Call one of my coaches or email us, and we'll go ahead and sit down and find out exactly what's wrong so we can fix any type of challenge that you have and get you on the right track. I just want you to remember one thing. Never settle for the fact that you're not increasing your weight and that you're not getting stronger. Never settle for that, okay? Always expect to go ahead and get stronger. Always expect to lift more weight. Law number 5. Always use monster sets for every single set for maximum gains and minimum gym time. See, monster sets are basically like your secret weapon when it comes to gaining mass. Now, let me explain what monster sets are. So monster sets are basically 2 exercises done back-to-back, similar to a superset. A superset is when you're doing 2 exercises back-to-back for the same muscle group. Now, a monster set, you're doing 2 exercises back-to-back for opposing muscle groups. So if you're doing a superset, you could be doing a superset for, let's say, your biceps. But if you're doing a monster set, you're actually working your biceps and your triceps all at the same time, back-to-back. So monster sets help you gain bigger muscles because they drive more blood into the region of your muscle. Because when you're working on biceps, you still will feel blood into your triceps, but you're not directly working on it. Now, when you're doing a monster set, you're working on your biceps and your triceps, for example, driving more blood in that whole entire region of your arm, causing you to have a bigger muscle pump. And bigger muscle pumps means stronger muscles. Stronger muscles means you get to lift more weight and you can get bigger. Another thing is the more blood you drive into your muscles, the more it stretches out your fascial tissues. Now, your fascial tissues are basically the tissue between your muscle and your skin. And it's a tissue that wraps around your muscle, and the more it expands, it gives your muscles more room to grow. Another reason why monster sets are best for gaining muscle is because monster sets allow you to do more sets in a given minute than doing regular sets, because you're doing 2 opposing body parts at once. So that means you can work on more muscle and less gym time. On top of that, monster sets have a huge advantage over supersets. When you're doing a superset, you're doing too many repetitions because, again, going back to the first example, if you're doing a superset for biceps, let's say you're keeping the rep range low and you're doing 8 reps. Then you're doing 8 reps for biceps, and then you're doing a second exercise of 8 reps for biceps. That's 16 repetitions. That's too high of a repetition for you to use a massive and the most amount of weight for their biceps. Versus if you're going to do a monster set, you can do 8 reps for your biceps, and then while your biceps are resting, you get to do 8 reps for your triceps, causing you to use the most amount of weight possible, and you already know more weight equals bigger muscles. So another thing about monster sets is it increases the intensity in your workouts. And a higher intense workout is going to drive more testosterone and more growth hormones in your body. Law number 6, make sure to get 7 hours of sleep minimum. And this is no exception at all.
So you got to remember, when you're building your muscle, the only way you can build your muscle is by breaking it down and allowing it to grow. And the only way it can grow is by sleeping. So sleeping is actually just as important as working out and as your diet. That's why it's the top three. But you can't miss out on one of them. If you miss out on one of them, you will kill all of your chances of gaining muscle. A lack of sleep also lowers your anabolic hormones like your testosterone and your growth hormones in your body. That means you're going to build less muscle no matter how hard you bust your butt in the gym. Lack of sleep also makes your workouts less intense. Because you got to remember, how you feel like when you don't get enough sleep? You're kind of dragging around throughout the day, kind of just dragging your feet around, and that's like during work or school. So when it comes to working out, it's going to be even worse because working out requires even more intensive energy and focus. And you're not going to have that if you don't get enough sleep. I don't care how much caffeine you drink, how many coffees you drink, or how many pre-workouts. If you don't get enough sleep, you're going to have that lack of energy, and your workouts will not be as good. And we all know that if your workouts aren't good, you might as well forget the rest. So make sure to get enough sleep. So if you're having trouble getting enough sleep, what I recommend is actually scheduling a time for you to go to sleep. Now, I know it may sound a little crazy, but hear me out. Now, let's say if you got to wake up at 6 a.m. because you got to be at work maybe at 7. That means you can't just go to sleep at 12 because that's only 6 hours. And if you go to sleep at 11, that's 7 hours. Now, keep in mind, I said 7 hours minimum. And you and I both know that when you go to bed, a lot of times you don't just go to bed and go to sleep. Right? You may roll around a little bit. You may go ahead and have something on your mind. You may get up and get a drink of water. Whatever comes about. Most of the time, I know personally myself that when I lay down, I don't get to sleep until at least a good 20 to 30 minutes afterwards, right? I have to roll around a little bit, find a good position. So basically, you want to make sure that when you go to sleep, that you plan to give yourself about 8 to minimum about 9 hours, just so you can be sure that your body actually gets about 7 hours of rest minimum. So that means if you got to wake up at 6, guess what time you should go to bed? Probably about 10 o'clock. Now, it might sound a little weird, a little crazy, and you're thinking, man, that's a little early, but you just got to keep this in mind. If you get enough sleep, you will ensure that your muscles will get bigger. If you don't get enough sleep, your muscles aren't going to grow. Now, what's more important? Getting a little bit of sleep in and letting your muscles get as big as they can, or trying to cut some corners and leaving the last part and the easiest part out, which is sleeping. You're already bust your butt in the gym, you're already lifting heavy, you're already carrying these muscles using monster sets as much as you can, so the last thing you want to do is ruin your chances of building muscle if you don't get enough sleep. Okay, it's the easiest law of all. Just make sure you hit that sack, okay, and go to bed. So another thing you do is make sure that if you're going to try to get some sleep, don't take any energy drinks, don't drink too much caffeine. You want to make sure you get to bed and that you're able to fall asleep. Don't lay in bed and be all hyped up and just still shaking, okay? Plan it out. If you do decide to actually get your workouts at nighttime, make sure not to take too many things that's going to keep you up at night. Because remember, sleeping is just as important as working out. So you got to make sure you balance those two out. Law number 7, eat every 2 hours no matter what it takes. Remember, this is one of the biggest reasons why skinny guys don't gain any weight. If you don't got the nutrients in your body, you don't have the calories to actually maintain the extra muscle. So you can bust your ass in the gym and you can get all the sleep you want, but your muscles will never grow unless it has the calories to support the muscle growth. So most guys don't really realize how much calories they're eating. So you got to keep this in mind. You got to eat more calories than what you burn. And so that means if you're burning 2,000 calories a day, you have to eat a minimum of at least like 3,000 calories. You don't want to do where you burn 2,000 calories and you eat 2,200 calories, because that extra 200 calories is just not enough. Simple rule is this. If you thought you were eating a lot, guess what? You got to eat more. That's why the law is really simple. Eat every 2 hours to ensure that you're getting enough calories into your body. Now, I know what you're thinking. One of the hardest things about skinny guys when it comes to eating is you probably don't have the appetite. You don't feel like eating. Well, I hate to say it, but you're going to have to force feed yourself every 2 hours. That doesn't mean if I'm hungry, I eat. That means every 2 hours, you've got to go ahead and eat something. And a lot of times in the beginning, it's going to feel like you're force feeding yourself and you're trying to shove all this food in. It's okay. It's part of the process. Once your body gets bigger, once your muscles get bigger, your body is going to demand those extra calories. So in the beginning, it may seem like you're eating a lot of extra food, but in time, your muscles are going to get a lot bigger, and before you know it, your appetite is going to increase, and your body's going to demand those extra calories. So when you're doing your Monster Mass workout, you can eat an excessive amount of calories and not worry about getting fat. Now, when you're gaining weight, you're going to gain a little bit of fat. There's no way around it. You're not going to gain a solid, let's say, 10 pounds of muscle with 0 pounds of fat. You're going to gain some fat, and it's okay. Just as long as you're doing the workouts with intensity and following all the different guidelines that we're setting out for you, you're going to gain majority muscle with a little bit of fat. So you have to realize that you can't eat like normal people. If your friends are skinny and you see them only eating a little bit, you have to eat so much more than them, because normal people are not trying to gain mass. Remember, most people are actually trying to eat fewer calories because they're trying to go ahead and lose weight. Now, your goal is to gain as much weight as you can, especially muscle weight. So you got to make sure you eat more than everybody else around you. If somebody says, man, you're a pig, you're eating everything up, that's a good sign. So a couple of things to do to make sure that you can eat every 2 hours is always stock your fridge with mass-gaining zero willpower meals. So this way, every 2 hours, you just grab something from the fridge, pop in the microwave, and you got food, just like that. Another thing to do is to always keep RTD protein drinks, or what we call ready-to-drink protein drinks. You can buy them at the store. They're basically pre-made drinks, so this way you can leave them in your fridge, leave them in your backpack, leave them around where you can grab them really easily, so this way when those 2 hours hit, if you don't have food available, you can always grab a shake and put it down. Just as long as you're getting those extra calories, you'll be fine. What I recommend to help you make sure you're eating every 2 hours is set an alarm. You can set an alarm on your phone, set an alarm on your computer, your stopwatch, wherever it takes to help remind you to eat. Because if you're not used to eating every 2 hours, there is no way that you're going to remember to eat every 2 hours, especially if you're not that hungry after the 2 hours. So set an alarm, and that can ensure that you're getting in those calories that you need to get huge. Law number 8, make sure to eat a pre-workout meal and a post-workout meal in addition to eating every 2 hours, no matter what. Pre-workout meals help your workouts get more intense and at the same time prevents muscle breakdown. Because you got to remember, when you're eating a pre-workout meal, the food that you just ate is going to go into your body, it breaks down into sugar. And your body, when you're working out, it runs on sugar. So guess what? If you don't have a pre-workout meal, your body's not going to have the sugar it needs to work out. So your intensity is going to be super low, but here's another thing. Your body will run on fat or muscle once it runs out of sugar. So if your workouts are super intense, your body's not going to have a chance to break down fat. So guess what? Your muscles are going to be the one that's going to be broken down into sugar and used as fuel if you do not eat a pre-workout meal. So always remember to eat a pre-workout meal to ensure that your body has the calories and has the sugar it needs to last through that workout. Post-workout meals are going to help your body build more muscle from the workout. The protein that you eat after a workout immediately will go into your muscle cells and give the nutrients for it to grow. The carbohydrates that you eat in a post-workout meal is going to prevent any type of muscle breakdown. So you don't have to worry about your body cannibalizing itself after a workout because it needs that fuel. Because that carbs is going to go and stop that right away. Protein and carbs is what you need right after a workout as your post-workout meal. Now remember, in addition to the pre-workout and post-workout meal, you still got to eat every 2 hours. Okay, I know it sounds like crazy. You're just thinking, man, I'm going to be drowning in food. You're right. You need to be drowning in food. You need to eat a ridiculously amount of food if you want a ridiculously amount of muscle growth. Just like eating every 2 hours, the best way to make sure that you can go ahead and get this law done is to stock your fridge with mass-gaining zero willpower meals. Number 2, make sure to have protein drinks or mass-gaining shakes available for you all the time. You can just grab it and go. Make sure they're pre-made and ready to go. Number 3, have little snacks like bananas or nuts or fruits or anything that you can grab and go, granola bars, anything that you need, and anything that's convenient to make sure you have that already available for you. This brings us to law number 9, which is always have food around you, no matter where you are. So don't forget that the biggest limiting factor for guys who want to gain weight is that they're not able to get enough calories. So make sure to set yourself up and make it easy for you. If you always have food around you, it's a lot easier for you to go ahead and eat every 2 hours like you need. Make sure you eat your pre-workout meals and your post-workout meals. All this requires having food around you all the time. Remember, the biggest factor for gaining size is make sure you have the calories that you need to grow. So make sure you always have food around you no matter what, because you got to eat every 2 hours. And 2 hours are going to go pretty quick. Make sure you always have food around you so you can just grab and eat. Because remember, if you're trying to eat constantly and it's not convenient for you, you're going to have a hard time being consistent to it. Always surrounded by food keeps eating on the top of your mind, which makes it easier for you to make sure to eat every 2 hours. Now, what I do usually to go ahead and make sure I have food all the time around me, I used to do this when I went to school. I did this when I went to work. If I went to school, what I did was I would put food in my backpack. I'll leave it in my locker. I will put it in my pocket. I'll do whatever it takes. I can make a whole bunch of sandwiches. I can get granola bars, protein shakes, slabs of meat. It didn't matter. I made sure that I always had food around me no matter what. Even at work, what I did was I would bring food to work. Now, most works have, break rooms and fridges and things like that. I would go ahead and bring food every single day, stock it in the fridge so it doesn't matter where I'm at. If I'm at work, I wouldn't just eat during my lunch break because they only give me one lunch break a day. I would calculate 2 hours. I would run off, eat the meal, come back to work, and do it every 2 hours. I would have the food at work. I would leave snacks around my desk. I would have it in the drawers. This is a funny story, true story. In my drawers, you're supposed to keep files, of customers and all this stuff. Well, for me, I kept protein shakes. I kept granola bars. I kept a lot of different snacks. I even kept meals in there. You got to do whatever it takes to make sure you have food around you. You got to make sure at the same time that it's convenient, because if it's not convenient for you to eat, you're going to have a hard time trying to stay consistent to eating every 2 hours. Law number 10, stick to quality, high-calorie foods when you're bulking up. So this is a major thing, because when a lot of guys bulk up, they think it's all about eating high-calorie foods, period. But there's a difference, because if you eat too much junk food, which is super high in calories, you're going to end up getting fat, and you won't have the nutrients you need to actually build muscle. And a lot of bodybuilders actually do this, and they always stay in what we call permanent bulking, because they never lean down, because all they eat is junk food all the time. So you know the guys I'm talking about. You go to the gym, you see them, they're big chest, big arms, and big gut. They're the guys kind of walk around like that, they don't really ever they usually have like a sweater on or a t-shirt on, because they don't even wear a tank top because they don't want to show off all their fat. And the reason why is because they keep doing what we call dirty bulking. And this is a true story. I had a buddy, I'm not going to say his name, I don't want to call him out here, but he's a good buddy of mine, and we've been working out for many years now. This guy has never leaned up, ever. And he's always in, permanent bulking. And the reason why is because he's always eating junk food. We would go in, we'll get a good workout in, and afterwards, he's like, hey, let's go eat a good post-workout meal. I'm like, cool, where do you want to go? He'll go and suggest Chinese food, and I'm Chinese, but hey, man, it ain't good for you, okay? All that grease and all that oil, it's not good for you. He'll be like, hey, let's go and eat a burger, or let's go grab some, McDonald's. He's always constantly eating bad food. And he's thinking that these extra calories are going to help him with these post-workout meals, but all it's doing is keeping him in a permanent bulking phase. And he was never able to lean down because majority of the bulk was fat. So you got to make sure you eat high-quality foods when it comes to the calories that you need so you can actually build muscle instead of building all this fat. I had another friend who wanted to go ahead and bulk up and lean back down. And his whole plan was he was going to gain about 20 pounds. And he even told me, he was like, Mike, I'm going to go ahead and gain about 20 pounds, about 15 pounds of muscle, maybe 5 pounds of fat, and then when I lean down, I'll maintain most of that muscle, and I'll be 15 or at least a good 10 pounds more of muscle once I'm done with the whole bulking and cutting phase. Sounded like a great idea. You know what happened? So the guy started bulking up, but all he ate was junk food when he was bulking up. So he did gain that 20 pounds, but that 20 pounds, majority was fat. He gained some muscle, but there was more fat than muscle. So when he leaned back down, he was actually the same size when he started. And he pretty much just wasted his time of bulking up and dropping back down because the weight that he gained was fat. So you got to remember, when you're trying to bulk up, you got to eat quality, high-calorie foods. So some of the foods to stay away from is deep-fried foods, any type of processed foods like pizzas and burgers or lasagna, stuff like that, and also dairy products. Now, some of the high-calorie, good quality foods are going to be beef, eggs, including egg yolks, okay? Also potatoes, particularly mashed potatoes are really good, white rice, coconut oil, or even like bananas. Those are good, high-quality food that's going to help you put on muscle when you're gaining that weight. Law number 11, consistency is more important than everything else. Nothing you learn from me or anything in this program is going to matter if you don't stay consistent to your workouts and stay consistent to your eating. Sometimes I have guys tell me, hey, I tried the workouts and I tried the eating and I don't see the results. But the problem they didn't tell me is they don't consistently do the workouts and they don't consistently do the eating. You can't just work out 2 days out of the week and expect to get the results, right? You got to work out 4 days minimum. You can't just go ahead and eat every 2 hours on one day and eat 2 meals for the entire day on the next. You got to stay consistent with your eating. Same thing with sleeping. You can't just sleep 7 hours on one day and 4 hours on the other day and wonder why your muscles aren't growing. Another thing I run into is guys that tell me, man, I learned all this fitness information. They get really, really psyched about information overload. They know everything about everything. And when you talk to the guy's like a genius. He knows more than me. I'm like, wow, awesome. But when you look at him, he's not in great shape. Why? Because just because you learn a lot of information, if you don't apply it, if you're not consistent on using it, it's not going to matter. And I run into that all the time. Keep it simple. Don't worry about complicating things. All you got to do is stay consistent. Use the laws, use the rules that we set up for you, use the tips and techniques. Stay consistent on your eating, on your working out, and on your sleeping, and you don't have to worry about a thing because your results will naturally come, I promise you. Law number 12, no whining about your skinny genetics. This is my favorite law because people love to go ahead and blame why they're skinny. They always blame it on the genetics. They always say, oh man, I'm skinny because, you know, my mom is skinny, my dad is skinny, my brother is skinny, and that's why I'm skinny. But you know what the truth is? The reason why you're skinny is because you screwed up on your workouts and your eating and your sleeping. You're not doing them. That's why you're skinny. It's not that. It's so easy to go ahead and just blame it on everything else. But guess what, though? If you blame it on other things, you're not concentrating on your solution. You're just trying to point blame at different things. The point of the matter is, if you're skinny, you can still get huge, okay? Tons of guys have done it. Trust me. Take a look. Dan got big. Johnson got big. Even me, I used to be skinny too. Skinny genetics doesn't matter. Now, is it going to be a difference between being a pro bodybuilder or, yeah, it will, okay? I got to tell you that much. If you're skinny, naturally, it will be tough to go ahead and compete in, let's say, a bodybuilding show against people with good genetics. It's okay, okay? Don't worry about that. But if you want to go ahead and build a good amount of muscle and not be skinny anymore, you can. Everybody can. Genetics is not going to be that important when it comes to building muscle, okay? Most guys I met usually tell me, I don't have the genetics to get big. But you know what it is? They don't have the habits of getting big. They don't have the habits of eating right. They don't have the habits of training right. And they don't have the habits of sleeping. Those three things are what's going to break your skinny genetics and cause you to build a massive amount of muscle. No more whining on your genetics, okay? Stick to the three things that work and screw the genetics. Show everybody that you can do it because trust me, genetics are not going to matter when it comes to building muscle and gaining weight. Eating, training, and sleeping. That's all you need to do. Law number 13. Stop listening to all the mainstream fitness information. The reason why is because you are trying to bulk. You're trying to gain a massive amount of muscle. Most of the people out there are trying to lose fat. That's why the weight loss industry is so big. Everybody is trying to lose fat. Everybody's trying to lose weight. So if you're going to listen to the mainstream fitness information out there, you're listening to the wrong information. You need to do totally opposite because those information are to help people lose weight, not gain massive amount of muscle. Listening to that information will totally screw up your mindset about gaining muscle. When you're listening to them, they always try to talk about different types of strategies for eating less, consuming less calories, watching what they're eating, But if you listen to any of that stuff, subconsciously, you're going to be telling yourself in the back of your mind, I need to eat less. I need to watch what I'm eating. I need to keep my calories low. And that's going to screw you up for gaining massive amount of muscle. Another thing is that most fitness advice that you find out there are actually for women, because women actually make up the majority of the market when it comes to fitness. Women actually work out more than men. So if you're listening to advice made for women, women are not trying to put on a lot of muscle, okay? Keep that in mind. So you don't want to listen to any of that stuff because it's going to be really, really misleading for you. Another thing is a lot of these fat loss exercises are actually a waste of energy and are going to catabolize your muscle or basically break down your muscle. So you do not want to do them, especially after your monster mass workout. It's going to drain you of your energy and also break down your muscle, causing you to burn your muscle. So that's going to totally hurt you for gaining muscle. So what you need to do is you need to go ahead and throw away all your mainstream fitness products, or at least hide them for the next 3 months. Also, stop reading blogs or watching YouTube videos from all the mainstream fitness gurus, because all that advice is going to hurt you from gaining the massive amount of muscle. The only information that's actually okay for you is bodybuilding information or mass gaining information. Those are the only things that can be okay for you to follow. Everything else, get rid of. Law number 14. Set goals and have consequences for not hitting them. 99% of people who set goals never achieve them. But if you set it the right way, the chances for you to reach your goals are going to be a lot higher. So another thing is make sure you have a deadline. Again, I want to gain 30 pounds by, let's say, January 1st. Now, you got to set a consequence for not hitting your goal. I want to set, your goal would be, I want to gain 30 pounds by January 1st, and if not, I'll give away my Xbox. Now, think of a consequence that's big enough for you to care, but not big enough to where it's going to fuck up your life, okay? Not like, if I don't lose 30 pounds by January 1st, I'm going to break up with my girlfriend, okay? Not something like that. The next one is to make sure to have someone be accountable for your goal. So, for example, if you're asking a friend, let's say his name is John, you go, hey, John, if I don't gain 30 pounds by January 1st, I'm going to give away my Xbox to you for free. You make sure you set the guidelines beforehand, make sure it's a done deal, write it on a piece of paper and both sign it if you have to, but make sure you keep it real. So this way it's not just a pie in the sky wish again, because most people are not going to achieve their goals because they don't go into the extent of making sure that the goals have to be achieved. It's just more like a wish. It's more like, yeah, I'm going to gain 30 pounds. Yeah, by January 1st, that sounds like a good time. But if they don't actually achieve the goal, they don't really care. Nobody's going to go ahead and slap them on the wrist, but if you go ahead and put a consequence to it, it makes it that much more likely because now you're serious. And you got to make sure you hold yourself accountable for that and that you have someone else to help you stay accountable too. Law number 15, know when to stop bulking. And this is really important, even right now when you're starting the bulking phase. The reason why is because if you don't know when to stop, you might just stay in bulking forever. And I know this may sound kind of strange right now, but trust me, I know a lot of guys that get into bulking and never get out. And here's the thing, they don't look good either. They usually always have a gut, they're always big and round, they just gotta always walk like this. Okay, that's not good. You don't want to look like that, alright? So make sure you set your goals on exactly how much bulk you want. See, when you're starting to bulk, a lot of times guys kind of get confused. They look in the mirror and they always tell themselves, you know what, I can add on a little more weight. Let me go ahead. They kind of do this. Check this out. They go like that. Oh, okay. Maybe they suck it all in. You know what? Yeah, I'm still okay. Just as long as I kind of suck in my gut. You don't want to do that, okay? Because what's going to happen is you're never going to drop that fat and you're always going to look all big and round. So make sure you set your goals ahead of time. Now, if you want to get a physique similar to mine, this is what I use as a guideline. So when I'm bulking, what I do is I look in the mirror and I look for my abs. And the moment that my abs are completely not visible, that's when I know I need to stop the bulking and start cutting, okay, and start cutting down the fat. So the reason I do that is because I make sure I always gauge myself on my body fat, and I really don't like to measure it all the time. So the easy way to gauge it is just by looking at my abs. This way it's a good indication on how much fat I'm gaining. Now, if you're lucky, if you're one of the lucky ones and you're not gaining a lot of fat, you know what? Continue to bulk. Because it's fun when you're gaining muscle after muscle after muscle. But for most of us who have normal genetics, like the rest of us, you're going to get to the point to where you have a lot of muscle, but you're starting to realize that you don't want to get any more fat, okay? And at that point, that's when you need to start cutting down the fat. So you can use the abs as a good indication, or you can set it by amount of weight. You can tell yourself, I want to gain 15 pounds, I want to gain 30 pounds, I want to gain 50 pounds, 80 pounds. It doesn't matter. Make sure you set a goal in advance before you start the bulking cycle, so this way you don't get stuck in that permanent bulking phase. All right, guys, so there it goes. Those are the 15 universal laws for mass building. Make sure to follow all these laws as they're all equally important. Follow these laws, stay consistent on your workouts, make sure the major 3 things, eating, sleeping, and training, and you're going to gain as much muscle as your heart desires. Thanks for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.